Well, I want to join in sort of the outrage that we would consider spending money without having a plan. You know, who spends money and has no plan as to how much you're going to spend, or has a plan as to what the repercussions are for spending money that you don't have? We're spending $100,000 a second. By the time I finish this sentence, we'll have spent $500,000. Of that $100,000 a second, we're borrowing $40,000 a second. The president is asking us now, and you've all heard about it, the debate is on, the president is asking us to add $2 trillion of spending and borrowing, of borrowing and spending. $2 trillion. How long will it last? Well, we don't know because there's not a budget. But there's going to be $2 trillion estimated that will be spent in the next year that we don't have. What does that mean to a country? There are estimates that our deficit now, which approaches the size of our economy, is costing us 1 million jobs a year. Now, what does that mean? That also means less revenue, which means worse deficits. It's all compounding upon itself. We have a rule and a law within the Senate called the budget resolution from 1974, the Budget Act, and in this it had some rules. Right now we're discussing, do we need new rules to do something about the deficit? This was a rule they thought of back in 1974. It was supposed to make things better, but it kind of shows that the rules only work if we obey them. We will be in defiance of this rule, and that's the question I have for Senator Sessions. Will we be in defiance of our own rules if we go forward with an appropriation without a budget?
We absolutely will. It sets forth precisely the language I thought I had before me, but it requires this, Senator Paul, and it's pretty clear. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Until the concurrent budget resolution on the budget for a fiscal year has been agreed to and an allocation has been made to the Committee on Appropriations of the Senate under Section 302A for that year, it shall not be in order for the Senate to consider any appropriations bill. That's pretty clear.
And what were the intentions?
The senator's a doctor and not a lawyer, but I believe most anybody could understand that point.
And what was the intention, though? What was the intention that that rule would do by having a budget? Was it supposed to limit then what each appropriation bill for each subject would be allowed to spend?
That is correct, Senator Paul. I'm sure in 1974 they were concerned about the process in the Senate. They decided to try to bring order to it. They decided to require that a budget be passed, which sends a message over to the Appropriations Committee, and this is a subcommittee of the Appropriations Committee producing their Milcon proposal, and they then give them numbers by which they're supposed to stay within, and if they don't, it requires a 60-vote total to proceed above the budget number. So it's a way to bring integrity to the system.
So by invoking this rule from the 1974 Budget Act, your intention really has nothing to do with the bill that's presented before us. It has to do with whether or not we should be responsible as a government, have a budgetary plan, know how much money comes in, know how much money is being spent, and do the responsible things the American people expect of us. You know, I'm concerned what happens if we keep upon this path. If we keep spending money at the rate we're spending it, within about a decade, entitlements and interest consume the whole budget. That's if interest rates don't go up. You know, as you noticed the other day when Larry Lindsey wrote about it in the Wall Street Journal, he said, if interest rates go up to where they historically have been, we'll add another $5 trillion. I don't think we can withstand it. My fear is that the economy won't withstand it, that our country won't withstand it, and that we do have to have somebody who will stand up and say enough's enough. The country needs to have a plan. We need to budget how much money comes in and how much we can spend. And I think this is a good first step.
Thank you. I can't think of a more important time in history for us to return to the tried and true budgetary process than at a time in which we are spending to a degree that's irresponsible.
Before we finish, the one question
Yes.
I have is, we haven't had a budget in 2 years. When's the last time we had appropriation bills? And are we working in the committee? See, the people expect us to come up here and do our job. And I would think our job is in committee. We deliberate over budget in your budget committee, over appropriations. Are we deliberating over appropriations, or have we had any committee hearings on the debt ceiling or how we could cut spending in order to try to not be spending so much money that we don't have? Are we in the process of doing what we're supposed to be doing in committee?
I don't feel like we are, but I have to give this subcommittee credit. Actually, this appropriations bill now before the Senate, amazingly, Senator Paul, I'm told is the first standalone appropriations bill brought to the floor of the Senate since 2008. When I came here, we would try to pass all our appropriations bills by at least a number of them before the August recess and all by September 30th, and when we didn't, we were embarrassed.